Should Brazil get a permanent seat at the UN Security Council? The nations in green voted yes. So obviously Brazil said yes to this. But the nations in pink voted no. Is there some sort of grudge the Spanish-speaking parts of Latin America are holding against the Portuguese-speaking country? Oh, except for Guatemala. That is the one vote yes. Then there's the USA who voted yes, but no to having veto power. Chile went with the same thing as well. And I'm guessing all the gray countries just abstained from voting. Imagine if Portugal, basically Brazil's dad, said no. That'd be like child abandonment. So I'm assuming this really just comes down to South America and maybe even Latin America as a whole doesn't want a regional rival to have so much power, even if it might just be a friendly rivalry. Actually, in the case of Argentina, no, that's just a rivalry. Now, currently, there are only 5 countries that have permanent seats on the UN Security Council. These countries also have veto power. The USA, Britain, France, finally China, and Russia. Hey, what's going on with Taiwan right here? And there's currently 10 non-permanent members as of 2022. Gabon, Ghana, Kenya, UAE, India, Albania. Brazil is one of them already, and then Mexico, Ireland, Norway. So could Brazil be the 6th member one day? I guess as long as it's not just the Western Hemisphere voting on this, maybe it's possible. Are you closer to paradise or hell? In blue, we have Paradise, California, and in red, Hell, Norway. I actually totally forgot there is actually a village in Norway called Hell, and it looks like it's kind of frozen over. From the looks of things around here, I think it's an appropriate name. So almost all of the Eastern Hemisphere is closer to hell, except if you live in this part of Siberian Russia, which nobody lives in this part of Siberian Russia. Let's be real, if you live here, you basically still live in hell. And then there's a big divide in Oceania, so Perth, Australia, closer to hell, but where most of the Aussies actually live, they're closer to paradise. This island also mostly safe too. There are areas of the Western Hemisphere that are being dragged down this corner of Brazil, and all of Newfoundland, as well as the big giant Canadian island up here. You would think a place like Iceland probably wouldn't do that well in a place like this. There's actually in total 4 places called hell in the world. One of them is in the Netherlands, another is in Jamaica, and the final one is in Michigan. Is this Ohio propaganda? On the other side of things, there are actually a ton of places named paradise. Probably better for marketing reasons to go with this name and not the other. Here are all the UFO reports in the lower 48 states. These would be some very unintelligent aliens if they were just flying over one of the more densely populated places in this country. But of course, UFOs don't necessarily mean we're about to be invaded by aliens. It just is any sort of unidentified flying object. It'd be more fascinating if we overlaid this map with a population density map of the USA. That's how we can really figure out what places are probably actually seeing stuff out there. Because of course, LA and San Francisco are reporting a bunch of UFOs. There's just a bunch of people there. But if there was like a random huge dot somewhere in Wyoming that only has like 500,000 people living in it, it's safe to assume them aliens are probably gonna invade here first. Wait, I now just realized this map includes both Canada and Mexico too and their sightings? I don't know if Mexico isn't even trying, or maybe no one is flying over this country, but a severe lack of green here. What's up with this big dot out here in the ocean? Now, maybe these people are actually seeing something. The total number of women elected to the US Senate by state. There's only a few states with the max, which is 3, California, and then New Hampshire and Maine. In the less intense red, these states have elected a total of 2 women at one point in their history. In this like pinkish beige, they've elected 1. And finally in blue, these are all the places that have yet to elect a woman to the US Senate. And what's especially crazy is the Northeast. I mean, these states have been around a lot longer than some of the Western ones. You'd think they would have gotten one by now. The first female senator was elected in 1922, and in total there's been 58 who have served. Yeah, but here's a bigger part of it. Some senators hold their seats for decades. Most women who ever have been elected are currently serving. Like these ladies have been serving for like 30 years already. So number of women these states have voted for is one thing versus number of elections each state has voted to keep that same US senator is another. China emits more CO2 than the entire Western Hemisphere, and that is not including just the Americas. We have a large part of the west coast of Africa and a ton of Western European nations. China has emitted 12 billion tons of CO2 emissions in 2021 versus all of these nations in blue combined, which was only 9 billion tons. For a second, is this true? China and the Western Hemisphere each have a total population of about 1.4 billion? I always forget just how many people live in the East. This shouldn't be that surprising though, considering that China makes all this stuff that the West actually buys. They're like the manufacturing hub of the world, so yeah, they're gonna be pretty high. Countries which were not invited to the Queen's funeral. Okay, let's just get the most obvious one out of the way. And then Belarus, who's like their biggest ally. Wait, North Korea didn't get an invite? Then we have Syria, Iran, Afghanistan, and Venezuela. Those ones pretty much expected at this point. I am a little bit shocked about Myanmar, as well as Nicaragua. What do these places do? Wait a second, North Korea was invited. This is amazing. But I guess only on an ambassador level. I don't think Kim Jong-un himself is going to be out there tearing up. Nicaragua and Iran might also have some ambassadors there. Crazy that even Poland got an invite, considering this map shows they might have possibly annexed Ukraine and Slovakia. How popular is your country's subreddit? And surprisingly, the USA very low on this list. I guess most of this site is already kind of our USA at this point. Finally, a map that doesn't just follow population levels. Australia, incredibly high, considering there's only 25 million people living here. Also, Reddit seems to be pretty popular in the Philippines and India as well. That's really what this thing is showing, just how popular Reddit is in these places. Then we have the two big Latin American countries, Mexico and Brazil. I'm going to just assume that r/Ukraine probably has some other people that aren't Ukrainian. They're just following the country. Canada seems to be the top on the list though, at least in the top 3. Per capita as percentage of population, look at how high Iceland is, 18.7%. They might be the biggest fans there. Sometimes the most popular subreddit isn't the most official though, so the results may vary. It's actually Brazil and India almost tied for second place though. Oh, only 81 in Chad. I'm gonna go subscribe right now. This person made a world map for his office. You can tell because he left a banana for scale. Pretty accurate world map if I do say so. A lot of the forgotten islands were included, like Cuba and the Caribbean, Iceland, and there's all these islands that Canada has up here. Of course, there's Sri Lanka and all of Indonesia, New Zealand, which is always the most forgotten country. Very accurate map here. I think it's like the best one I've seen in a long time. The amount of air in different bags of chips. If you're like me and actually want chips with your bag of air, you probably want Fritos. Pretty good ratio, only 1/20th is air, but I still get a lot of chips with that. Meanwhile, one of the worst offenders, Cheetos. Almost 60% air. Maybe this is how they got so popular. People always have to buy them. Is this what makes the hot Cheeto girls frustrated in class? I can see why they get so angry all the time. Pringles has always had a pretty good ratio, I feel. I'm still afraid to buy these though, since there's always that risk that I'm gonna get my hand stuck in the canister forever. I wonder if there's a good reason why all the chips have some air. Like maybe that does help with the quality or something. That's probably what they tell us, but I don't know. Trailblazing scientists who shaped the world. We have in computer science, mathematics, physics, chemistry, and biology. Of course, there's Darwin, who's one of the OGs. I'm noticing this list starts in the 1860s. What about the dudes before that, though? There's Einstein. I'm starting to get a little depressed that I don't recognize more of these. Alan Turing. I just feel like with all their contributions to society, we should maybe know more of these names. There's Hawking. Or maybe most people already do, I just don't. The longest reigning monarchs in history. Queen Elizabeth was only 2 years off from catching Louis XIV from France. And it's crazy to think he ruled for this long in the 17th and 18th century. Elizabeth did pass up this monarch from Thailand by a couple days, pretty good amount of days. Didn't know Liechtenstein made the list. That's something they're known for. And then Malaysia, 60. I can't even imagine. That means a lot of these rulers had to have been like basically kids when they came to power. Oh yeah, well in the case of Louis XIV of France, he was 4 or 5 years old when he became king. I think he clearly managed it well though. Crazy to think we actually have photos of some of the longest monarchs reigning together, England and Thailand, all those years later. Chick-fil-A has the highest sales per store among all fast food brands. And remember, they did this all while being closed on Sundays. Still getting mad just thinking about all the times I wanted Chick-fil-A on a Sunday. So on the x-axis, we have the total store count in 2021. Considering Subway has over 22,000 stores, they aren't making very many sales. There's Starbucks, who follows a pretty clear store to sales ratio. No wonder they're just like on every corner. There's McDonald's, which has less than 14,000 stores, yet they get in that bag. But Chick-fil-A only has, I think, less than 3,000 stores, and they're pulling in all this revenue. How do they not just see this and start building Chick-fil-A's everywhere? Just to test the theory. You'd think they'd just start throwing them everywhere after this, but I can also see why that would be a bad idea. I don't want to saturate the market. The top 10 most commonly misspelt words on Google. This is ranked by number of errors made by users when searching per month. Number 1 is separate, which as I'm looking at this right now, I don't know where the mistake is. Oh my god, I'm part of the problem. I'll just contribute to that real quick. Oh wait, that was spelled right. This is what's spelled wrong. Okay, I was gonna say, like, I'm pretty sure you spell separate with 2 A's in the middle. I would have no idea how to spell zucchini. First of all, why are there so many people even searching zucchini in the first place? I feel like I've never spelled that word in my life. Potato. That looks right. See, I can justify all these things because I am also like the worst speller in the world. I think I just quit at life if they ever got rid of spell check. Maneuver literally looks wrong to me. Imagine this post itself actually has a spelling error somewhere. But you know what? At the same time, I feel like spell check is only contributing to the problem. There's no need for me to remember how to spell anything anymore. I think spelling in general is just going to continue to get worse and worse. Worst celebrity private jet CO2 emission offenders in tons. And it is T Swift far and away, way above even Floyd Mayweather. Thing is, that kind of already goes with his brand. I don't think he cares. For Taylor Swift, however, that's kind of a bad look. There's also Jay-Z, Aaron. There's also Jay-Z, A-Rod, and Steven Spielberg. He's got to fly around for all the movies, I guess. I don't know. And a regular person really only uses up about 7 tons. This is on a yearly basis too. Where are these people flying to all the time? And big thanks to my wife hates this part.
My name is Walter Hartwell White.
Drew's Argentinian grandpa. California and Nevada. Bring back Poland ball. Mexican Finnish $20 is a lot. Chris Danny Evan Pryce Gamers jakov LuxembourgLover Philipp RF Phresh Animations. And why am I doing this?